So the main speaker for the day, the guest speaker for today, is our colleague, the Commissioner of SARS, and he would like to give us a perspective on higher education in the year 2050. Prof. Edward, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning. I must just rectify what Prof. Ben said. I was asked to give a perspective on 2050 leadership education. I was asked to do that. It's a question I'm totally incapable of answering. If you had to ask me 25 years ago, what would today look like, I would have got it wrong. In fact, I don't think I could have answered that question 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Certainly 4 years ago, ChatGPT didn't exist, so I couldn't even ask it. But in reflecting on the future, whether it's 25 years from now or 10 years from now, we come to an abiding question, which is, would you like to be a product of the future or a creator of the future? Because it's your choice. We do have a choice. When does the future begin, and how does it come about? Well, this morning when I woke up, this event was in the future. I could only imagine it. I saw the program. I could form a picture of it. But I still had to take action. I had to get out of bed. I had to prepare. I had to go through my routines. I had a few meetings before that. And I had to make sure that I arrive here before 11 so that when that which at 5 a.m. this morning was in the future became the present for me. And by about 5 o'clock this evening, this event will be in the past. It will no longer be the present or the future. And all we will have left of it will be a memory thereof, maybe a few photographs thereof. Thankfully today we can record it so we can re-experience it, but we can never change it. It will be what it is as we have created it. And for me, the future starts now. I always speak to my tribe about the 4 stages of creation. The first stage being conscious awareness. When something comes into our consciousness and lingers long enough for us to focus on it. Because not everything which filters through our consciousness even reaches the point of awareness. It will go straight into our subconsciousness and it will linger there. And we may not even know what we know because we would be unaware of it. Conscious, unconscious awareness. But when something is consciously aware, it's the first phase of creating the future. Then, when we remain sufficiently and consciously aware of something, it can graduate to the next phase of creating the future, which is purposeful reflection. It is no longer just something we dream about, something we're aware about, but we graduate to the next phase, and it is now purposeful reflection. I now think about it in a more constructive way, in a more design orientation way. I want to give it stature, form. And I may go through various iterations thereof, and then I will settle on what I think. That which was I became consciously aware of, I am now clear, lucid, and I can move to the third phase of creating the future, which is communicating with intent. And I'll share my idea. I tell others about it. I get feedback on it. I enrich it. I refine it. Because I am now clear that I will need support, input, challenge to enrich and to strengthen that which I became consciously aware of and had spent some time purposely reflecting on it. And then, of course, comes mindful practice. When that which was once just a thought now manifests as an edifice. Because everything in the room was once just a thought. If I had to speak to you on the 20th of June 2007, I would not have had this device in my hand, because it was only launched towards the end of June 2007. Up until then, I thought of an apple as something I could eat. Now it is something that contains my entire life. But it was once only a thought. And so, when we reflect on what the future would be like, the answer is in all of us. We must create a future that we can dream of, become consciously aware of, think about it more purposefully, communicate it to enrich it with intent, and ultimately it will manifest. And for me, I want to take you back to a story round about 2006. We were sitting in the boardroom of the South African Revenue Service, and we would ask ourselves, what would we like the future of filing be? Filing is the act of submitting your returns on the periods that it is due. And I said, I think of a day when a taxpayer will sit anywhere in the world and fulfill his or her filing obligation within 5 minutes from a device that is ubiquitously and always connected. Now, if you were in the room, you would have asked or said, what is he smoking? Because at the time, the average time for the submission and the assessment of a return was 180 days. That was the average turnaround time. And if I then told you that in 2019, we would conduct that same function, which took on average 180 days, we would perfect it in under 5 seconds, you would have laughed. And yet in 2019, that's how long it took to complete a task which 17 years earlier took 180 days. And if I then, 5 years ago, had to tell you that in 2024-25, I will not even require you to submit a declaration. I will provide you with an assessment outcome before you even tell me what you've earned and what I should deduct and accommodate for expenses. And yet, in this current fiscal year, of the 8 million individuals who had a filing obligation, 5 million of them did nothing. We, using third-party information and data from local and overseas providers, using machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, send taxpayers, those 5 million taxpayers, an SMS to say, if you go onto our website on your device, your assessment outcome is complete. And if you're happy with the answer, you'll get your refund in under 72 hours. And for those of you who do choose to submit a return, you'll get your assessment in under 5 seconds. And so that's not a future that wasn't dreamt of some time ago. And so the future of 2050 begins by consciously becoming aware of what it is we wish for ourselves, what it is we want to create for ourselves. And in this regard, university education, the education that many of us have been privileged to have, and those who are currently students at DaVinci will experience, is about creating the future. It is not about getting a job to earn an income. Of course, along the way, we want that. But it is about what future do we wish for ourselves. Ray Kurzweil speaks about the singularity as a point in time in the future, and he said it will occur around about 2045, when technology and biology would have indivisibly merged to the point where it will be inseparable. So we started with desktop devices, we moved to handheld devices, we moved to wearable devices, and we are in the age of implantables. And so I don't know actually if I'm looking at an AI augmented human being right now, or a human being or a computer that is beginning to mimic the behavior of a human being. It'll be indivisible. We are now preparing our staff to become comfortable coexisting with AI co-workers. So we are looking at a rapid deployment of AI agents to agentify our workforce, not our workforce, our work, so that we can automate through agents all routine and repetitive work, disintermediate any human need to do that work, and in the future, disintermediate the work itself, and not just digitalize it, to disintermediate it. That's the 5 million story. We have not improved e-filing, we have disintermediated it for 5 million people. And so, and then augment human beings and human endeavor with insights from AI. So AI can be artificial intelligence or also augmented intelligence. And as I said, some of these technologies didn't exist 5 years ago, and now it is ubiquitous. I spend a lot of time reflecting on what does that mean for leadership? What does that mean for leadership agency? Because I have a conviction that in the end, none of us will be able to compete with supercomputers. None of us. Don't even try. To crunch, to collect, gather that volume of growing data, to collect and connect the dots, to form historical trends, to project and predict future trends, and to commit to tasks, routine tasks, repetitively, repeatedly, consistently, with 100% accuracy. Human beings cannot do that. So what is left for us to do as people? Well, it turns out that our competitive advantage in the age of AI is simply being human. That is our competitive advantage. Which means that being human is about being curious. It's about having a thirst for knowledge. Even an AI does not even know that it knows. It turns out our empathy, our compassion, our sense of higher purpose of wanting to leave this world a better place than the one we found it will be our competitive advantage. Knowing stuff will not get you anywhere because knowledge is ubiquitous. If anyone today says, I don't know, he or she is a liar. The only thing we can say is, I don't know yet. Because everything is discoverable. 5 years ago, I didn't know how to bake sourdough bread. But when I was trapped in my cave for a few months in isolation during COVID, I started becoming curious about bread. And I started cultivating my own starter and was delighted when I saw it germinate and ferment. And I think I'm quite comfortable to say, today I can bake a mean sourdough bread. So everything is discoverable, everything is knowable. No one of us should ever say, I can't. You can only say, I can't yet. And so the message I want to leave with you about the future is become an agent of change, not a subject of change. Agency, human agency, is about developing a disposition that I am not a victim, but I am an agent. I am not the subject or an object of change, but I can in fact be a subject of change. And that requires us to think way beyond the ability of an artificial intelligence to think. Because only we can ask questions such as, who am I? Why am I here? And how would I like to improve the world around me? We are the ones who can ask that. So become an agent of change. Step up into leadership agency. Take on the challenges that comes with this exponential and unprecedented evolution and revolution of emerging technologies. It is inescapable, but remain the agent of being human and committed to the notion of defining the change we want. Now, the other issue about singularity is that not only is it the point of convergence of technology and biology in a manner that is indivisible, it is also the point where for the first time the power of computing will have exceeded the power of the human brain in terms of its computational and cognitive capacity. And it is also the first generation of technology that can, whereas every other technology up until now has were prosthetics in our hand. In other words, we used it. When the singularity has come, we will become the prosthetic in the hands of the AI. It cannot be an uncontested terrain. It cannot be one which we sit down and wait for it to happen. So I cannot tell you what 2020, 2050 will look like, whether in education or in leadership more broadly. But I can tell you it is going to be as exciting as it is intimidating. And you want to be on the arena, in the middle of the field, and not watching it from the stadium. Thank you for listening to me.